This is Tea or Café, powered by Latina Styled.
Welcome to Tea or Café, powered by Latina Styled. Today we'll be talking to Angelica and Ana Maria, and we will be speaking about what it is growing up as a British Latina. So, my first question, tea or café?
Tea.
And you?
If it's café con agua panela,
Okay.
then un café con agua panela.
Okay.
If it doesn't have that,
Then no.
a tea with a dash of milk.
Okay, so you're not a pumpkin spice latte or that
It's
kind
nice, but no,
I don't
café
know.
con agua panela.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfecto. I'm a tea person. Coffee sometimes, but not really. Can't say that I love it too
Coffee
much.
makes my heart go. I have an adverse reaction, but I do think it's nice. I have to have it with like non-dairy milk, and actually my newfound love is, I know it's like the thing now, but it's matcha.
I do love matcha, actually.
I don't like any of that.
Tea or café or matcha.
Okay. And I guess in terms of like growing up here, matcha is something that's completely new, isn't it?
Yeah.
What other foods have you tried that you absolutely love?
Like British things or just like things in general?
Anything in general. I think London's so multicultural that you have you exposed
of
to
everything,
everything.
yeah.
Anything to shout
Well, it's not
about?
that I've tried it recently, but I remember the first time I tried it a couple of years ago. My dad made corazones, like chicken hearts.
Okay, yeah.
Banging. Like they're so
I've only
good.
had them in a Turkish restaurant, and I know Nando's used to do them years ago.
Like chicken hearts.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, they did. And Nando's did chicken hearts.
Yeah, they did years ago, but they had to take it off.
Another
probably.
bit chunchuria.
Okay.
It's like I don't know if that's like the guts.
It's
or
the
what is it?
intestine.
Yeah, yum.
That's delicious. So you made me think.
Fried.
I had that recently. Yeah.
The best thing I've tried, literally, I was going to say that, in Mexico I've had tacos of chunchuria. It's crispy. It's delicious. Of all the
I can imagine.
that's the next thing I've tried. If you want to try intestine tacos.
I think I tried that.
So good.
I went to Colombia this summer, and I think that was the first time I tried chunchuria, and I was like, banging.
Oh gosh. So am I right in saying that would probably be the most Latina thing that your British friends won't get?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If I said to them like try intestines, they'd be like, like oh, it's too good.
But we also like what is it? The lung.
Yeah. Or la lengua.
Bofe.
I really like lengua,
bofe.
like tongue.
Yeah.
I think tongue
lengua
is so
can't.
good.
I can't really. Yeah, it's not
I
for
like
me.
it, yeah.
But bofe,
Yeah, the lung.
everything.
Yeah, it was so nice.
Absolutely. What has it been like navigating, I guess, being Latina and having sort of these aspects to our lives, and being British or being a Londoner? How has it been for you?
What, being a Latina in London?
Proud.
Yeah.
You know, I feel really proud. I feel like London is a place where, you know, we always talk about negatives. Of course, there's also problems going on and stuff, but actually, like, proud that you're in a city that's so multicultural, that we've grown up with so many different people, that you can, that, you know, it's. I feel proud. I feel proud to navigate as a Latina, and proud to kind of, this is my city, and we are a bit of a bubble in the country. You know, you always talk about, you know, British, but I think we're a bit of a bubble. And yeah, I think you feel proud, and you feel proud that you can connect, that we have behind us. That's what I speak for me, like a long, complex, at the same time beautiful and complex and controversial sometimes history to our history of being like where our origins come from, like in Latin America. So I feel like that's something that I remind myself that I carry all those stories of a continent, a nation that was created, like I say again, controversially, because, you know, colonization and that, but still there's beautiful stuff. Yeah, and I feel like it's balance. It's balance, yeah. It's knowing who you are. Like, I don't feel you can negate, like, I can never say, like, I'm, like, 100% Colombian. Yeah. Because even though, like my experience, I can go there and I don't think, like, in the streets, people go, oh my God, look at her, she's a foreigner. Maybe when they meet you, but I guess, like, someone else, people say, like, over time, you'll blend in much more easily. And you assimilate because you were raised in a Colombian, I was raised in a Colombian household. So yeah, but I can also say that my culture wasn't white English culture, it was London culture, which is again going back to being diverse.
Do you identify as British Latina, or how do you identify? I identify as British Latina, but I'm Colombian before everything. What's, I guess, your...
You know, I think that term is new, isn't it? Because it was definitely didn't exist when like I was growing up. And I think it came around like during lockdown, because I remember when lockdown happened, that's when I downloaded TikTok and started making videos. And that's where most people that follow me, the reason they followed me is because I had two accents, a British when I spoke English, and then empecé a hablar español, and they're like, whoa, how are you paisa? I'm like, because I'm also, like, I'm Colombian, and they couldn't believe it, and that's why I started to gain a following, because it was most of the Americans that couldn't understand how I can have two. And then that's when the term, like other content creators started getting attention for the same thing, and then that's when the British Latino term came about, and I was like,
do you relate to it?
That is like the best way to describe us, I think, because there wasn't a term before, but actually like, I mean, I think what you said makes sense, more London than British, but I don't know, I feel like British Latina just like kind of rolls off the tongue, maybe a bit easier, but yeah, I feel like, I mean, I do relate to it because I grew up in my house, it was like best of living in two worlds at the same time, like at home, solo se habla español en la casa, everything, waking up on a Saturday morning with your parents blasting music on the speakers and like las salsas and like old school music. But then I'll go to school, like 0.5% of my friends or peers are Latinos. So I'm speaking English outside and like, I don't even know where I was going with this. The point I was trying to make is just that, yeah, at home, I identify strongly being Latina, but when I'm out, I might relate to my friends a bit more, like the British culture inside of it. So I do feel, for me personally, that the British Latina term does apply to me.
I'm the same. I think that's one of the terms where obviously I've always said, oh, I'm Latina, because essentially that's what I am. Obviously Colombian, so race, nationality kind of sits there. But when I heard the term British Latina, it gave me sort of that balance of what I feel like I am.
Yeah.
I went through the school system here, so, you know, very much Brit in that sense, very much a Londoner. I can walk around London and know exactly where I am without needing a map. And very much Latina, because not just Colombian, because of my friends, my friendship circles and the culture. It's very much the Latin culture that I'm very much part of. So I found that when I heard this term, I was like, yeah, I identify as that. And that's pretty much, not that I've made it my identity. And I think there's one thing that we need to be sort of, I guess, understanding of. It doesn't mean that that's what I am, British Latina, and that's everything. But it's something that actually kind of ticks the boxes for me for now.
But if someone asked me, like, where are you from? I wouldn't say, oh, I'm English and Colombian. No, I'd say I'm Colombian, but I would only use that term to explain
your origins.
Yeah, like
kind of.
If I would never ever say, someone says, where are you from? I'm not going to say I'm a British Latina. I'll just say I'm Colombian.
I'm Colombian.
But now if you're asking me about like, oh, but your accents and stuff, and then when people start asking questions, then I'm like, okay, I'm a British Latina because I grew up in London, so I have a British accent, not even British, I have a London accent, and then Latina because I'm from Colombia and I have a Colombian accent. But I will never use that term as an answer, only more of as like an explanation.
Yeah. I think for me, like Jackie says, or like you said about when the term came up, I feel from what I get in conversations, we're very comfortable understanding what Latinidad is. We've, our parents, we've gone to Latin America. It's kind of, there's so much written about what Latino America has always. There's always been that thing of Latinoamericanidad and everyone together, and it's like, there's a like culture which goes from Mexico to the Caribbean to Argentina. Like we have, but I think what I think is interesting to debate or to discuss or to kind of think about is, well, the Britishness. What does that actually mean when we say British Latina? We're very clear about the Latina side, but what does Britishness mean? And like right now we're having all these conversations that like in the politics of the moment. So I would say is like, the reason why I put a question mark on the British bit, because I think what is British about London, and is London the same as, I don't know, think of a town like, I don't know, Oldham in the north, or like Grimsby. Yeah, so like, are Londoners, what in London is British? Like what makes London British? It's not because in the British Isles, like what makes it British? And can you probably relate to the immigrant experience of everyone who was born here from parents from different sides? And are we talking about mainstream Britishness? Are we talking about like the fact that we all watch the same TV, went through the same education system, and then like have the NHS? And what does it mean to be British at the end? Is it tolerant? Is it what they say the British values, like tolerance and like open mind? Because I feel one thing about London that I think if you compare, when you go to like Latin America and you think about describing London to people, one thing I would say, which is very London / maybe British, but maybe more London, is that in London, like we have a very like free-flowing, open mind, like culture. Like you can dress however you want. People are exposed to so many different, not only cultures, but subcultures, vibes, you know, music and dress codes. And people here just, also the river pace of life is quite intense. Financial capital of what used to be Europe, I don't know now, but like all this kind of stuff. So I just wonder, like what do we mean? I think maybe something's...
You know, I think it might,
Is it because you were born in the island, or does it mean, or you were raised on the island of Great Britain? Or is it, what does it mean? Like,
I think it might just be to differentiate that we're not living in America.
Yeah.
Because I think that was just the simplest term we could come up with so they could understand.
Yeah.
But like, I actually think that might just be it. Like, because most Latinos, I've also gotten questions like, how did you get over there? Plane, like a boat if needed. I don't know. Like, and like they don't realize as well, like in America, there's Colombians living in Japan, there's Colombians living in Australia. Like that's
I have an uncle in Australia.
Yeah.
I have an auntie in America.
Like,
everyone's moving around now, so that differentiates just a little bit further.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they all think that, but there is a large majority that will be like, oh, but why don't you just move to the US? Like, not everyone's dream is to move up to the US, like, so we're everywhere. So I think maybe just the term British Latino, it's probably just a way to be like, we're Latinos that are over here, not up there. So like,
and that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the points that you said was obviously going through the school, going through everything else. There's things that you take from there that do shape and form part of your identity, and it doesn't mean it's everything about you. But there are things that it's a nuance that will be very different to a Latino in France, to a Latino in America.
I wonder what they call, like, do they call themselves anything, or do they just say I'm Latino?
Who knows?
Like, I
know that. So I do have friends in France that are, but they just, I guess it would be like French
Australians
Latinos,
call themselves
no?
Aussies, don't they? They're like, I'm an Aussie Latino.
Yeah.
Like, do they say that?
We have a cousin actually that's in Australia. I need to ask him.
But the thing is, it's funny because you mentioned like Australia, the US, and the UK, and they're all Anglo countries.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like maybe in like on European countries, there is a different mentality, as we know, like from the way they are. I don't know, maybe Canada's like England as well. Maybe, I think
identity just forms such a big part of being in this country anyway, because there's so many conversations about it, like there are so many conversations about it in America. So I feel it's just allowed us to kind of, I guess, cement who we are, being able to have something that we can claim. And there's people that don't claim it, which is absolutely fine, and that's for them and sort of their story.
I mean, I think for me personally, I'm in a more secure place about my identity, but I'm still sometimes like
learning.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Yeah, but I think that we would, because also what you've got to remember is we've got what we're taught by school, we've got what we're taught by family, and then you've got the stereotypes that are placed upon us. So that's also something where it's like, why am I not that stereotype? And then you question yourself both on sort of both sides of the coin. Did you ever feel growing up that you had to kind of live up to the stereotype of being fiery, being curvy, being the dancer? Because, like,
sometimes I feel like I am some of those stereotypes. I can't be like, don't stereotype me, because I am fiery. Yeah. But then also, am I fiery because I've internalized that's what Latinas are meant to be like, because I've grown up being like Latinas are like toxic, they're like just passionate, and like if they're angry, it's just because they're so they've got all this passion. And so I've grown up watching, like, for example, Modern Family, seeing Sofia Vergara play like the Colombian wife in an American family. So everything she does compared to them is like more dramatic and stuff. So I don't know if I've internalized that, and now I kind of am
I'm quite similar to you, where I've maybe internalized it also. But then when I look at my mum and the women in my family, I'm like, I'm all of those things because of that. And I don't know if everyone's just kind of painted the brush. So it's really hard to move away from that stereotype. But there's also other things that are with me that I'm like, well, that's not what your typical Latina does too. But I guess in terms of, is it okay when we do it and it's not okay when other people say it?
I think if you're trying to if you're trying to calculatedly trying to live up to stereotype, like, oh, I've got to be this way to be, then that's maybe a problem. Like if you're like, oh my God, I need to.
That's a very deep problem.
It's not authentic. It's not like if you're just like, oh, naturally I'm really I'm like fiery and I'm passionate and I'm like.
Or if you always say like, oh yeah, I'm Latina, so I'm naturally spicy. No one says that. Like
nobody says
no one
that.
says that I'm spicy.
That's given fetish, and I think that's the difference as well. If you're out there looking for a partner and that's sort of your requisite, very different. If you've met me as a person, you're like, oh, you're a bit fiery, very different. Like I wouldn't take it, I guess it's dependent on sort of the reciprocation of it and sort of the intention of why it's being said.
Yeah, and also if you are like exposed to like the diversity within Latino communities, as you get older, you start realizing that actually there are many faces to being a Latin woman. So actually, maybe when you're in your teenage years, I remember being a teenager thinking it was that time where like people were, it was about, you're getting older, you're becoming a woman, and then like there's ideas of body image, and then like, I remember that time like people getting like surgery in Colombia very young was a thing, and I remember thinking, oh, like, to look like a good, attractive woman, this is kind of what you're going to have to look like. And there's going to be even like going under the knife for some women. You started seeing that. I think as I got older and you start meeting other people, you start like, no, actually, you know what? There's like so many different faces to this. And there's Latinas who are like quiet, who are shy, who don't like any of this like Sofia Vergara vibes.
They're not the stereotype at all.
And then I think your identity, will develop. And I think passion doesn't always have to be super like, what's the word? Like an outward emotion, which is dramatic. Passion can be a quiet passion. So I think we are passionate as a people, but it's not always manifested like
out. 100%.
You spoke about sort of, the stereotypes and I guess the beauty standards that we have all kind of grown up seeing, and it does get attached to that sort of fiery, passionate Latina. I think about me, when I was 18, I thought I wanted my boobs done.
Me too.
So then, and my parents were like, okay. And I was like, you should really fight me more on this. Subconsciously.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like, okay, if that's what you want. But like, they weren't overly happy. I'm not going to say that. They were like, yeah, let's do it. But they were like, okay. And I didn't get it done because I was just a chicken. And I don't regret it. I think it's the best thing that I've ever not done. But again, like, do you find that being Latina and having all of these different types of worlds, but seeing that everyone is so different, has shaped the way that you kind of view beauty standards?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I don't know, maybe today I've been realizing maybe I was an insecure child. I never deemed this before.
That's not
now
what
I'm like going back. But like, again, when I was younger, when I went back to Colombia and I was like really young, all the mannequins in the stores. Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
They
at
are
one point, they were like
massive.
35 double Ds or 35, whatever, double Fs.
They're like up here and like all the tops are like stretched
and then
out.
they've got small waists.
Yeah.
Like, I used to think that was actually beautiful.
I grew up thinking as well, and I was like, when I grow up, that song, when I grow up, I want to be fit, I want to have boobies. That was me.
I mean, them alone, I wanted to be like this girl.
And I was like, oh, when I'm older, like, I want to get my boobs done. But then I grew up and I was like, I'm actually happy with, my mum was like, they're going to kick in. They never really kicked in.
Mine kicked in. So mine kicked
I'm
in.
happy with
so I had no boobs, maybe like really, well, it wasn't like no boobs, but mine kicked in at 25.
Really? So I still have
mine kicked in at 25 and I was like, oh, okay. But also as you grow older, you put on weight. So like it just, your body changes. It's changing forever.
But like, I used to be a little bit maybe insecure about, because then other girls in my school, in secondary school, they'd come back from the summer, like one of the summer holidays, and then everyone's got boobs and I'm like, I'm kind of still waiting. And like, I've not got the smallest chest, but when I was younger, I wanted like bigger. But then I was, over time, like it was well seeing other Latinas who are like not the curvy stereotype or whatever, like they're petite but they're just as beautiful. I'm like, oh, like I became way more secure and like, okay, so the beauty standard is not just one where there's so many.
I mean, that to me is still
beauty.
beautiful if it's like, you can still be curvy and be absolutely stunning, but you can also be slim, tall.
That 2000s like beauty where like all the girls are like really slim and stuff, like that's really
as long as you're
beautiful
healthy.
as well. Yeah.
And also, it's about sort of I think for me now, obviously with my body changes, I'm like, just be healthy.
Health is
Because health is wealth.
Yeah.
I was ill for a couple of years in the recent years, and that's just taught me like forget everything else. It doesn't matter. Just be healthy, and then look after you.
Yeah.
But before, obviously, that's kind of changed. But we could do with a little bit of weight loss. We could do a little bit of everything. But naturally, for me, it's probably best.
That's an interesting point. I don't know, like talk about women's things. This is not a women's thing. Sorry, people out there, it's a person thing. But weight loss and health. I find that I don't know, like. I don't know if I can speak for my home, maybe our family. You didn't really grow up in a culture where, like, exercise and you saw role models, like you saw parents going out for a jog. I mean, maybe like my dad goes to the gym now, he's 70, but like it wasn't something he was doing when he was my dad, when I was a little kid.
But
like,
even growing up, just that point. Yeah. So for example, if we had like anything family, you go there in the morning, buñuelos,
food,
arepas, pan de bonitos, de todo. Then you'd have like an 11s, and then you have your lunch, y eso siempre era la sopa con el seco. And then you'd have something else, otro buñuelo, unas hojaldras, un pan dulce, un pan con café, and then we'd have the like dinner. And I remember this like being throughout. Like we'd go to la abuelita and she made masitas. I made masitas the other day, and I was like, oh. But again, like it's just so much around food and not the health.
No.
Not the healthy part.
They're
like
not counting calories.
No, like run it off.
Yeah, I know things have changed. I know like Latin parents now, and even if you go like to, I know like Cali's like Ciudad Deportiva in Colombia, and you see a lot of people jogging in the morning, like people. But I think the people like who came over here, the generation like my parents and older generations, and they didn't have that culture. So when you think about having your own family, think, well, they'll probably see me like jogging, and I'll go to the gym or I'll do a yoga class. And then that will have an impact on your kids. They'll be like, oh, that's exercise, but you don't have exercise like culture. So then you eat all this stuff.
So again, that then kind of gives you a full circle moment where you're like, oh, and people go and have lipo, or they do what they're doing. I get it, because you literally get to a point where you're just like, shit, man.
Or worse. And this is the thing I think many Latin people are going to identify. So you have the generation of parents who maybe didn't go to the gym, don't know anything about exercise. They're just food. And then you get older, and then Latin people in general, not everyone, love to comment about your weight. So they're not. So you
right. So being a fatty right now, I have been the butt of all of these questions.
But if you're a bit overweight, if you're too skinny, there's a comment on your appearance, and it's I'm thinking, well, geez, like maybe if you did like. Gone, like showed me how to do exercise, like, and I've seen you do these things and eat better, then maybe I wouldn't. Yeah,
that's one thing actually. They love to comment, like especially maybe not all parents, but my parents. But they tell me, si yo no se lo digo, like quién más, and they're like,
o se lo digo
but like because we care about it, like because you have to watch, and I get what they're saying, but at the same time when it's brought up or like you haven't been to the gym in a while, or you haven't done this, because to be fair, sometimes I'm very consistent and then I fall off a bit and stuff.
I think everyone.
But yeah, like it's normal, but then they'll be like, you haven't been in a while. Like maybe you shouldn't eat as much rice or like stuff like that, and it's just constant comments. And I'm like, they're not even constructive. Like they just really frustrate me. It doesn't help. And like if I want to make the change, then I'll make the change. But it's not because of their comments.
In their mind,
they just get me down.
And also like we know that if you tell someone, like the biggest effect you have on people is by being a role model. So if you just tell someone do this, but then the person telling you has a buñuelo in there, and you're like.
Se come un chorizo, I just watched you eat it.
No, or I'll be like, I'll tell everyone in my family, okay, I'm starting a diet. They all laugh at me. And the thing is, when I lock in. Like, I'm bringing up my weight.
See, I'm the worst.
I'm counting my calories, like, and I get really like intense. And then they're like, you're doing too much. So
then you do the opposite.
Because then I'm like, you're doing too much, like the weights and stuff, like. But I'm being like. When I tell you, when I lock in, and they're just like, okay, that's too much now.
They do it because obviously they want you to be your best self and all that great stuff that parents say. Do you feel pressure, because we're all the eldest daughters, to be that perfect daughter for them? I mean, that they've come from, they're first gen, they've come here for a better life. Their idea of perfect is not necessarily, you know, the image part.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things that they do to some of us, not everyone. Some people don't have that experience. But, you know, being that perfect daughter, having, I guess, that pressure of having to make it.
I think I'm very lucky in my parents, they've never been like, you know, you have to be a doctor, you have to do this. My parents have always been like, whatever makes you happy, like do whatever like you like as long as you're happy. So I've had very supportive parents, but I think internally I've always felt like if I don't make it or I'm not successful in whatever I choose to do, like I'm gonna let them down. But even though they've never said, you know, you have to be your own CEO, or like they've never forced me to be at the highest level ever. But I feel like I still feel that pressure because I wasn't even born here. And so like I'm not even first generation is when you're born here, isn't it? Yeah, like I'm not even first generation. I'm an immigrant as well. And so like, but the fact that they went through the efforts of, you know, getting everything, moving across the world to like start a new life.
That's an effort that I could never do. Me.
When my mum said, I think my mum was like 26 or 27. I'm like, that's like me.
With the child.
I'm thinking, that's like me in a couple of years deciding to do that again. I moved to a country where I don't speak the language, starting from rock bottom. I couldn't do that. I know I couldn't do that. So to let them down, like, even though they've never put that pressure on me, I feel it anyway. And like,
I think lots of parents do it differently in different ways as well. Some people like leave the nugget, some people make comentarios. Others parents are kind of like, that's the expectation, you just don't talk about it. And others are very like, where are your grades? Show me what is going on.
I always did well in school. I went to uni, like I got a good like grade and everything. And I feel like I've always done everything kind of like correct because I don't want to let them down. Even though they've never forced me to do anything, I'm like, no, I have to do everything right, or like to make their lives easier as well. Like imagine, first of all, I was too scared to be a naughty kid anyway, but I was like, I don't want to add any more pressures or problems because they've already done so much to like come all the way over here. So like, I've always been, let's say, a good child, like a good.
I feel like I was, even though like my parents they came here like end of the 70s, at beginning of the 80s, and they were very young. I think when you have your first kid, you're a bit like the experiment where they're learning everything. And knowing my parents' like story of everything they went through, they were young and they were learning so much about, like with me by their side. We went through the struggles. I was a baby, so I wasn't conscious of all these things going on. I think until my brother was born. I think my brother was born when everything was stable. I was born when nothing was stable. I was, not to go into a long story, but like we were living in a hotel and like my parents were undocumented. So I was a bit like their kid, but I was also like their little baby sibling where they were like the three of us trying to. So I feel like they knew that, for example, they had to make big decisions to leave their families where they were like they were basically centers of their family. They were old. My mum wasn't the older, but they were old. The family was pulling them to stay because the family needed them. In my dad's case, needed him. He had to basically do this and just jump ship because he knew he wouldn't have a life if he just stayed back. So they were like, you know what? In that kind of like, they wanted that kind of self-actualization for us. So they kind of said, you'd never have to be like, kind of do stuff for us. Like, you have to do it for yourself.
That's what they said. So
they just, do your own thing. And like when I was studying and stuff, my dad was like, if you just want to be a musician, not just, but if you don't want to study, be the best, start. And he would not be disappointed if I dropped out of uni, basically. Because I think we had the values of hard work in whatever we did. And my mum was never worried about like, oh, these guys aren't going to school or they're not going to study. Because it was like, they wanted us to be internally motivated. Not motivated externally, because my dad always say like, look, if you love what you do, you're going to make money. There are routes where you'll become like a millionaire, if that's really where you want to go. But it's not just about that. It's about deep satisfaction, who you are. He's always been satisfied with who he is because he's like literally came to this country and he said, I'm going to like do the job that I love. And he did music and he put food on the table with music. And people have, musicians have a reputation. Oh, you're going to be like a borracho, you're going to be on the streets, it's not a stable career. But because we had that example, and my mum was always like very supportive. She was like, yeah, that's the ways and that's what you got to do. And so I think they didn't put this pressure of like, you've got to like do it for our honour and for us.
Yeah.
Some people have that though.
My dad,
that a lot.
my dad said like, even if you was like to not, let's say for example, again, this is not negative, but let's say they came to this country and started cleaning, you know, like being cleaners. And my dad said to me, like, if you want to be a cleaner, then just make sure you're the best cleaner. And like like, I don't care if you're not, you know, something else. Like, if you want to be a cleaner, that's fine, but do it well. I think when I was looking for a job and I was applying for jobs, he was like to me, if you want to be a housewife, just say that then, like, but admit it. And he was like, just make sure you get a husband that can support you well.
Absolutely.
Just so like they have never placed that pressure on me, but I just think as eldest daughters, it's like we kind of feel it, and it just to make them proud.
Do it ourselves.
Just to make them proud. Yeah,
we do it ourselves, and it's that kind of like you self-actualize yourself. It's about, and because we got to remember, they're coming from a culture where that's not that, especially in those days, that wasn't a thing. It was like, hacer las cosas por la familia, qué pena, qué vergüenza, que como así, que limpia, como así, que, you know, you work in the circus or whatever. But they were like, you know what, we're young Latinos, we're coming here to this country, we can rip up that script and we're going to give our kids the opportunity to just, in this land of opportunity, do what they want to do. And when you talk about the struggles that, you know, your parents had, my parents had, it's always like, because of them, we got to keep going forward and just being who we are and being true to ourselves. Because then what's the point? We'd have stayed in a time warp in a different, you know, moment and just done everything because of getting down.
I did that for a while. I did try to sort of please what I thought was the right thing. So I didn't have a career, which I did really well in, but it was a career that wasn't necessarily something I was passionate about, but I did love. And then I thought I just need to step away from that a little bit, and then did what I wanted. At no point did my family was like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" They questioned. They were, you know, they asked questions like, "What's going on here?" But aside from that, there's definitely a pressure that I placed on myself for no reason. And I think as an eldest child, you do that, and then it's their first time being parents, right? So they're like,
they
don't know what they're navigating as well. And then everyone's got different personalities. And then you kind of add so many layers onto it. My brother came in to the picture and he was just a wild child. And what he's doing now is just completely different as well. But it's, again, having to make them learn that actually change is okay. And I think that's one of the things, like when you've chosen a path, sometimes they're like, why are you changing it again? Or why are you doing this now? And I think change for them because they wanted something so, I guess, continuous in their lives because they had to have such a big change from moving from another country. For them, that I believe that some Latinos as well do sort of have that difficulty in sort of navigating change.
And also like the UK or like London especially so two things, like in maybe all of Latin America might be the same, but you study a profession, right? I'm an accountant, I'm a doctor, I'm a administrador de empresa, like business, and like you stay with that profession like for the rest of your life.
I've changed jobs so many times and they question like, why are you changing your job?
So the way they're judging that is based on that, right? Because people over there do this profession. Also, the reasons are very different. There is much more financial support here than, you know, people say it's still got issues, but to study in this country, there's still much more accessible, even with loans and everything, than it is in Colombia. So people make a massive sacrifice and they go, oh my God, if you're an accountant, you better die an accountant because we had to get debt forever. However, in this country, people don't always study professions. They don't always study to become a doctor, accountant. They may study what they call like a knowledge base. So you did international relations, that's like a knowledge base of skills that could be adapted to so many environments. And they don't really understand that. They think if you studied that, you need to then go and work in that box. When actually with that job, and they're telling you could be in so many different spheres. So I think, and also nowadays with the economies that we have, people tend to change career every like 10 years. And in this country, I think that's another is making me think of all what Britishness is the idea that here, it's that idea that you can make yourself, like there's so many different windows. And Londoners don't like to box themselves. They like to be free flowing and do different things. So I think for like our parents, it might be like, what?
But I feel like there's another aspect to this. And it's that they didn't get the opportunity to be able to change.
Yeah.
You've got so many people that are professionals back home, have come here and have had to clean.
Yeah.
And then they don't have the opportunity. Some people make it.
Yeah.
And I had told a story about someone that was cleaning in the office where I was, and then they got an engineering job, and that's what they had studied for, which is fantastic.
Nice.
But not everyone gets that opportunity. And so when they're here and they've got the opportunity to perhaps change, I think that might be something where, you know, it is the flip side of that coin.
And and the association that you basically, which is a very like, you study because you want a job. You study for money, basically. You study a job that gives you money, and that's something that when I taught for 16 years, and I'd always say, unless you really like that, or you have a plan like 5 years, I'm going to work in the city and I make all this money, it's going to be like a miserable life because you're going to basically be doing something for the paycheck. Whereas, so is education to study, to grow, to develop, and of course you're going to get a job, or is it just like study what gives? Como dicen, estudia lo que da plata. Yeah. And you're like, but that could be like, it's such a horrible, like, I could never, when I was like getting towards uni, I was like, lo que le traiga plata.
Right, how do I get money?
Yeah, getting a job in Canary Wharf, and going those graduate schemes where it's not for everyone. It's awful.
It's not for, in my opinion, no offense to the finance girlies and guys, but absolutely not.
It's a bit kind of person and like it's not for...
I got my degree in criminology because I wanted to be like a detective at the time. But then, I don't know, I kind of like, I loved my course and like the whole 3 years that I did it, I loved it. But then, I don't know, once I graduated, I didn't really want to kind of do that anymore.
Yeah.
But my dad was like, why don't you apply for like MI5 and like try and like work for the government and like do like these high like jobs, like apply for those. And then I was like, but I kind of like, this is so different, but I kind of want to do marketing now.
Yeah.
But I'd already got my degree, which was so different. But I kind of fell in love with marketing while doing TikTok, which is something that started in lockdown right before uni. And then I continued it during uni. That's when I started working with brands and stuff like on the side of my uni course. And I was like, oh, I actually really loved this, but I didn't want to start uni again and change my course and start from scratch. So I was like, let me just finish this, because I knew that here, I've heard so many people say, as long as you have a degree, it doesn't matter. So I was like, let me just finish like my degree, and then maybe hopefully I'll get a job in marketing. And actually 3 weeks ago, I started a role in marketing. Yeah, thank you. So I'm a marketing analyst for, it's a consultancy firm.
Amazing.
But I don't do any of the consulting or finance. Like, I don't do that. I'm more like...
You do the fun bits.
Yeah, I do the fun bits. And like, obviously it can get stressful, but I've only been there for 3 weeks, but I love it. And like marketing is way more what I want to do. So I'm blessed that I got to do that anyway.
Yeah. And
still,
also that you were given that space to be able to do it.
Yeah. And my dad was like, so you don't want to be a detective anymore? So your degree, my dad was like, so your degree is just like...
Because you got to say, like, that's the thing I always say when they get it. I was like, no, because it's one thing in degrees, the knowledge, like the facts, like skills, the skill of analysis, the transferable skills.
Like going to uni,
it happens everywhere. So, for example, in my household, I studied international relations. I work in HR.
Yeah.
Completely different, but definitely transferable skills.
Yeah,
and obviously, Latina styled is my baby. Yeah. My brother did aeronautical engineering, and he now owns a lighting company and does like amazing stuff across sort of production and TV. Again, it's the skills that you learn.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the actual thing that you do.
Exactly.
My sister's a little bit different though. My baby sister just got into university. She started now.
Congrats.
She's doing medicine. So she's hopefully going to be a doctor. But again, that's more vocational.
Yeah.
Very different.
You're going into medicine, you know,
that's it.
You're going down that way.
So we're quite privileged actually to be able to do all of these things. I think.
Because I was speaking to cousins in Colombia when I was there recently, and they were saying, no, if they study something at uni, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, no, I did criminology, but now I'm not doing anything related with that.
Yeah. I think parenting is difficult. So like, I don't kind of hold it against them if they didn't understand the change or didn't. But you know, it is sort of part of our traditions and values, I guess, as a culture to kind of just allow it to happen. So people are more lucky than others, and you know it works well. Is there anything that, for I guess value-wise and sort of I guess knowledge that you kind of have taken from the culture or from your household or from your parents, I guess personality traits as well, that you'll sort of continue and carry on in your life?
Oh, for me, definitely is like what I kind of just mentioned, the kind of like the trait that was always just be true to yourself. I don't think this is particularly like a Latin thing. I think it's just a thing that they had, and it's kind of just be true to yourself, develop yourself. I don't know. I think.
Is there anything, I guess, like as a Latina that?
I think like it's going to sound like cliche, but yes, the family. Yes, the family, of course. That. I think as in terms of Latin things, I think in particular the valuing of, and I meant like the valuing of our cultural artistry, our history. And I think because I've learned so much, like because of having like a musician dad, I learned about the deep roots of our music, like the deep roots. And that is probably like so, I love it so much. Like if you talk about, and not just Colombian music, like Latin American in general, like I have a passion for like always looking at these rhythms or these, and the kind of like that I take with me. And I think, wow, our music isn't just for dancing and, you know, prancing around. Our music is like telling our history. And that for me is like, whoa, like to walk in history. So, but in terms of like everyday values, I think there's some things which, yeah, I can't pinpoint a specific Latin value, but the family, the you know, having unity between, I think those things are.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me it's the same as well. And like,
Because is your dad a musician?
no.
Just
He learned how to
you.
play guitar
That's
recently.
what I thought. I saw him play
He's
the
not
guitar.
very happy actually.
Oh.
No, he was taking his New Year's resolution was to learn how to play the
Fine,
guitar.
yeah.
And then he recently had his first like showcase.
No,
And
That's what I was like, so
learning
he's a
how to play
musician
guitar.
then.
Technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to his first show like this year.
But look, that's literally changed because
Yeah.
at an
I was
older
learning,
age
yeah.
doing that, that's amazing.
I don't know exactly. I think he's 55 or something. But he was like, yeah, I want to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he started doing it. But
that's
no one in my family is a
perseverance.
musician. Oh, I lied. Well, I have a cousin in Colombia. He plays, he's a bass player, or was. I don't know if he still is, but it was for John Alex Castaño.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Amazing.
bass player for him. But I think, unless I'm forgetting someone, but I think apart from him, I think we're the only like two musicians in the family.
Oh, I
but
love
my
that.
grandma does like love music. Like my grandma, she will literally, all she does all day, que le prendan el radio or like los CDs, and that she's happy.
Yeah.
She can literally sit by the window as long as she's got her music playing, she's happy. And she's always like tapping her toes, like whistling. Like, so she's not a musician, but music. And at home, my parents, they know every lyric to every song. And I don't know how, but like every genre, like old school, like rock, like salsa, every song they know.
That's amazing.
Like, every genre, so like no one's really a musician, but in my family, music is a big part of like.
I mean, I grew up with
family.
music. Obviously, my uncles and my cousins, they're all musicians. At home, we were pretty normal. Nobody's a musician. Only my mum is like just a wild child. I think she was the wild child of the family, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And I guess she's just allowed us to flourish. For her, it was just her family that is her trait.
Yeah.
Being a mother, being a nurturer, allowing her children to flourish. Her family is everything, which has been nice, obviously. I don't know if I will carry that on because at this point that we're recording, I don't know if I want children or not.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know, but I'm a nurturer. So those around me, I would probably carry with me.
Yeah.
Yes, Jacqueline is a nurturer.
I am 100%. I'm the chef. I'm a nut. Yeah, absolutely. But for me, and that's another conversation for another day, but you know, being sort of true to yourself and being able to kind of carry those traits and give that love to people around you, for me, is something. And as a culture, we do that very well. Latin culture, we're feeders.
Yeah.
We're party animals.
I think we take care of our own.
We
as
take
well.
care of our own, but then we also take care of each other. Sometimes you get the odd one that doesn't, but as a community, we do tend to. Like if I've met you, you know, we will sort of take care of each other, which is really nice. You do get the odd duck that doesn't, but you know, it is what it is, and those are life lessons.
Yeah, I agree. I think now that you say more, it comes, the feeding. I love to cook as well. I you know, when we're with family, I'll try and mix. Yeah, I think there's things like that I think when you talk about compared to like non-Latin people, would be that, the being quite warm and open. those things as well.
Yeah.
I think for me, just for every person that's ever immigrated into another country, something that I just admire in general is that perseverance, that sort of, you know, I guess for me, it's just what a warrior, because I could never. And just being able to do that, that means like as a person, you are just so strong and resilient, probably more than I would ever be. And I kind of look up to that. And sometimes I think, no, if they can do it, then I can do this little thing. Like I can do like that task.
I can make my own dentist appointment.
Yeah, like what is this? So yeah, I think I always kind of look, and because that's what our ancestors did. If we look at sort of our history, you know, they were nomads, they were moving around. It's something that's very natural to us as you know, within our DNA. But also, it's part of us, like to make those changes, to you know, be free flowing. I think essentially. So that's something that I kind of carry, and I carry it proudly as a Latina. And so I guess for me, if you had one piece of advice for the next generation as a Latina, what would that be?
Try and learn about your history, as in try and go beyond. Try and learn a bit more, because we if you're raised here, if you're born here, you get one window into Latina from your family, which is normal. And when you go, but you know, we didn't really go through like a Latin education system, and I think it's to honor, like to, for example, I'm a very big advocate of Latin American cinema, not only the music, the arts. You know, try and find out and try and like learn a little bit more about the past and everything. Like, I think that's really important if you want to carry it on. And you know, what we talked about, you know, the stereotypes of there. Think about, you know, those great civilizations that came before. Think about the traditions. Find out and really like embrace that. Just learn, you know, pick up a book and just read a little bit more about those things. And like, I think that would be the advice. Obviously, be proud of who you are, and then you can walk head high and go like, this is like who we are and stuff. I think learn about who we are.
Yeah.
I need to do that. But this is that's the reason we're having these conversations, because it sparks this. It sparks something. Sometimes when we are out there trying to search for something, whether it's a missing piece of our identity or who we are, it's these conversations and these realizations that allow you to find that. Not that you'll feel whole, because that's a whole different thing. But it will at least give you a step forward in the direction that you need to go to.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd give as advice?
A piece of advice. Again, I think like be true. For me, it sounds so cringy, but like honestly, like be true to yourself and like go after what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And although, for example, I still feel those pressures that I guess I've placed on myself to make my parents happy, like don't let what's happened in the past or like previous generations not completely, you know, decide what you have to do in your life. Like choose to live your own life, make your own decisions for yourself, obviously respecting your family and what they've done for you, but don't let, you know, their life is not your life.
Yeah.
And like, that's something I need to remember as well, that like, I also have my own life, and like in the future, make certain decisions, you know, more tailored to me, and not every decision have them in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, just have a healthy balance with that, you know?
For me, it's unlearning a lot of the negative, whether that's internal monologues. I've got really bad imposter syndrome. Whether it's the way that I view myself, whether it's the way that I've internalized the way someone else has said that they viewed me. I think these are all things that we kind of take with us, whether it's from school, from secondary school, from the community. We were just talking about "Esa gordita," internalize that. Why are you changing? Internalize that. What are you doing? Internalize that, and kind of unlearning that process. And then relearning the positives, relearning about your culture. So where, you know, sometimes, you know, years ago, Las Gorditas were celebrated. Like, you know, it's all sort of...
All that colorism and stuff. Like, you know,
I was just talking about this to someone, internalized colorism. That's something that we live. Like my experience as a Latina, I'm brown, me dicen India, negra, whatever you want to, like, however they call me. I don't internalize that, but maybe I do as a label. But actually, I'm very proud to be the woman that I am and the way that I look. But again, there must be something there where people have commented it. And again, I need to unlearn. Why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing que soy India? Why is it a bad thing that I don't look like the other Latinas?
And when you look at the past, then you realize that there were so many great like
Absolutely.
indigenous women or Afro-descendant women who were like, wow. And it's like, but because of the way, unfortunately, history is learned, both in Latin America as well, because that's what they're battling over. They're trying to redefine everything. So the new generations, they're kind of proud to be Afro-descendiente, indígena, like kind of, there's still a battle going on. But there's so many like great wow things, and that like we just going back to that telenovelas and showing just like very white European looking Latinas and stuff like that, and then thinking that's the beauty.
When I say I'm Latina, they're like, "Oh, you don't look it." I know I don't look to your standard,
But
and I
to
might
me,
look like
like
other
you
cultures.
do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah,
you
true.
know.
We know that
Sacrala colombiana, no. Pero some people don't, and so they kind of just, assume, generalize. They put me on the other side of the world map, which is fine. But before, I used to hate that. Call me anything else, I used to be like, why? And then there's así, India, poca. But when Pocahontas came out, I was like, this is me, she is me, I am her. Pero there was a lot that I would have to kind of grow up and unlearn, and I think that would be my advice. Just unlearn some things that are negative about yourself. And we're all amazing. I think from whatever country, it's not about country. I think as Latinas in general, we're just incredible.
Yeah, and like what you say, like I think, and also within the community, like I think being someone questioning your identity, someone saying like, you're probably not Latina because you don't look this way, or even from out, because it can happen from inside as well. Usted no parece colombiana, usted no parece usted es así. I'm like,
even a step further, because I identify as British Latina, you see comments that are like, "Oh my God, what is this British Latina term?" And like really, it's like, I identify like that, like relax.
I've had people comment when I'm talking about like where I'm from and stuff. They're like, "Oh, she's lying, like she's begging it." What? Why would I lie about where I'm from, you weirdo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there must be people that do, but like, not me. Like, I don't know.
This is not about those people.
It's weird.
You are bothered that you need to impose on them. I need to tell you who you are. Like, no, like what? Who walks around wanting to do that with the people? Like, I don't want to. Like, you say you're Chinese, Filipino, Australian. I'll be like, okay, that's what you are. Like, why am I going to question it?
Well, thank you so much. It's been amazing having you on.
Thank you for
I think we've
having us.
sparked some really good conversations. Definitely some self-realizations as well. But yeah, this has been Tío Café. Cheers. Cheers.